Hey there, EB here on Anything But Bland Weekly Update. Happy Thursday. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do it next week. I'm getting shoulder surgery on Tuesday, a little labrum work, a little torn bicep, just kind of fixing things that have been broken. And I've been training around. Obviously, I had my knee replaced a couple months ago, and that's gone really, really well. So I'm hopeful that I'll have a decent recovery on this shoulder surgery, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Let me make sure my phone is on silent. So this is a big week. Obviously, it's Iran, and Henry Kissinger said it correctly that when you choose to use military action and invade another country, there really is choosing. It's like a Hobbesian choice. The what choice do you have? One is worse than the other. Do you go in and bomb and then risk escalation into a broader war, retaliation by the country that you're bombing, or do you not go in and you look weak and the country continues to, in this case, develop a nuclear arsenal, a nuclear bomb? Let me be clear here. The reason we got here is because in 2017, President Trump ripped up the atomic energy agreement that was negotiated by the Biden administration, not by the Obama administration. And that provided that Iran can go up to 5% enrichment of uranium. When it was ripped up, obviously, Iran continued in earnest to develop a nuclear program, and they had anywhere from 60 to 90%, depending on who you believe, enrichment of uranium, which at that level is only being done so that you can make a bomb. Clearly, Tulsi Gabbard and Trump are on different sides of the page. She's head of the Director of National Intelligence. She has testified before Congress in March and made statements as of recently, a month ago, where she said that Iran is no closer to developing a nuclear bomb. If you believe Israel or some of our intelligence agencies, they were on the cusp of it. Let me be clear. What President Trump did was one of the most courageous things that a president has done during my lifetime. And you can quibble with, well, was it obliterated, or was it destroyed, or was it damaged, or is it going to delay? The fact of the matter is, it was a robust act that we had to do. There is no way that we can permit Iran to get any kind of nuclear bomb, because it's going to create an arms race in the Middle East where other countries who don't necessarily get along with Iran will want to develop their own nuclear bomb. What Israel was able to accomplish over the 12-day war and the actions of our military, it was just extraordinary. We're talking about a 36-hour flight on the B-2 bombers, dropping the MOPS bombs that are 30,000 pounds that drill down deep. It was an extraordinary success. We didn't get shot at. We dropped these bombs on the 3 nuclear facilities, and I believe if they were not destroyed, that they are delayed for a year or two or longer, and any delay is good. Any delay that prevents Iran from getting a nuclear bomb is good for the world. And to quibble with words of obliteration or not, I think we're losing the big picture, which is President Trump, and I have certainly criticized him harshly, justifiably so, over the last year, deserves absolute 100% credit for what he did. It was a monumental decision. It was a decision that nobody saw coming, because he had everybody fooled and said he was going to give them 2 weeks to make a decision for Iran to come to the table and negotiate. It was extraordinary, and it was executed perfectly to a T, without any injuries occurring. Military, you heard this morning General Kane, who's the general of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, talk about they've been working on this for 15 years. They were developing the bombs and the technology, specifically for the Fortis plant, where they put their laboratories 300 feet underground. Now, why would somebody put a laboratory 300 feet underground? Because they know it's wrong, and they want to keep it hidden, and they want to keep it protected, because they know, because they're a state sponsor of terrorism with Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, that somebody's going to come in and bomb them. And good for Israel and great for the United States. And let's give President Trump credit where credit is due. He got them to enter into a ceasefire, and if an agreement can be reached between the United States and the Atomic Energy Commission and Iran, then he should be considered for a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, I'm not a fan of his, but somebody needs to step up and say it was a good job. And the Democrats look feckless at this point for trying to quibble over words of obliteration or damaged or whatever. Let me tell you something. 14 bombs bombed those factories. They, entranceways, safe air from vents, it's all crumbled. And these bombs are drilling bombs that, the first impact opens it up, then the bomb goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and then it's in 5 stages, these bombs, and things collapse. It's an extraordinary, amazing thing that was done. And I am going to say it. I'm going to say it as loud as I can. And anybody who thinks it was wrong for us to do this is sadly mistaken. President Trump is showing that he will only be pushed far enough before he will unleash the military. Iran has cut ties today with the Atomic Energy Commission. They come in and they verify what's being done, but they're only allowed to go to the places that Iran will let them go to. We won't know if they took the uranium out last Friday when there was 12 tractor trailers in front of the Fortis facility and they took it somewhere else. We're not going to know that. But when we have intelligence that tells us that they are increasing their uranium enrichment, that it's not for energy, not for civilian uses, then the world has no choice but to go in and blow it up, because it is being run by a theocracy, the Ayatollah. It's not a government that's run by a democracy or elected officials. It's a theocracy. It's a religious-based country that is being run by an absolute nutcase. The Ayatollah is 86 years old. He was shelled up in a bunker for the 12-day war. He came out today out of hiding, and you know what kind of propaganda BS that he said? We beat Israel in the war and we slapped the United States in the face. Now, it kind of sounds like Baghdad Bob. Remember Baghdad Bob during the Iraqi thing? Like, bombs were flying and, the ceiling was crumbling in, and he would say, oh, we're doing great. I'm perfectly safe. And it turns out he got blown up. But these countries lay out this propaganda. I mean, Iran lost all of its defensive capabilities, such that the skies now are free, that anybody can fly military sorties in and out of Iran and not be faced with other airplane coming at them or incoming defense bombs. I mean, it's just a joke. All their airplanes were blown up. They have infrastructure of radar was blown up. So what Israel did was a present to the world, and what the United States did was another present to the world. President Trump is at the G7 summit right now, and interestingly, he praised Zelensky at the G7 summit, which is rare, and said finally it's been very difficult dealing with Putin and getting him to end of the war. And he said something that was really amazing. President Trump said, I'm starting to believe that Putin has ambitions for land beyond Ukraine, which should make Poland, Finland, and a lot of these other countries scared for the President of the United States to have acknowledged that. Um, the Democrats, and we're going to start talking about what happened in New York City because that just killed the party forever. If he goes forward and becomes mayor, Zohan Namambi. The Democrats look stupid in this Iranian whole bombing issue. They should have come out and said, congratulations, President Trump. It was a historic thing you did, and whether the nuclear program was forever obliterated or it was damaged for years to come, whatever it is, it's better than if we did nothing. They should be gracious in their compliments. And again, I am certainly a serious critic of President Trump, but this is just ridiculous what is taking place. Who cares whether it's 6 months that it delays it or it delays it 2 years? If they get to the point again when they're on the cusp of developing a bomb, we will bomb them again. And so it's a good day. We're safer today than we were before the United States and Israel decided to take on Ukraine. We did very significant damage throughout the nuclear facilities, as well as killing 12 scientists, nuclear scientists that were in charge of these programs. And 23, 24 generals have already been taken out by Israel, of the National Guard, of the Republican National Guard, the Revolutionary Guard, and the Quad forces. It's just amazing which was done. And I'm going to say this, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash on this, and I voted for Kamala Harris. I did not vote for Donald Trump. There is no way, and I mean no way, that former President Joe Biden or Kamala Harris could have done what Donald Trump did by bombing Iran. They wouldn't have done it. They would have kowtowed towards the liberal faction of the Democratic Party, as well as the MAGA part of the party, the Marjorie Taylor Greens and Thomas Massey from Kentucky, who want to completely isolate the United States. It's a really unique marriage when you think about it. The far left never wants any type of military engagement throughout the world, and now MAGA wants the United States not to get in an endless war, which could have happened with Iran. So they could not have done it. Israel and the United States are forever linked as a result of doing this. And no other president in my lifetime, maybe Reagan, would have permitted Israel to do what it did, and certainly wouldn't have done what Donald Trump did. What I think happened is Israel now is in a position, as they have shown the Middle East, what can happen if you cross them. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for the Abraham Accords to be finally signed, with Saudi Arabia acknowledging the existence of Israel. Look, Iran's entire charter is death to Israel, death to the United States. So how do you negotiate with people like that? Lindsey Graham's right. Until they renounce that, we should bomb them into oblivion. Until they renounce death to the United States and death to Israel, they should not be trusted on anything. One of the things that Iran said is you can bomb our facilities and you can do everything, but you can't bomb knowledge. That's true. But we certainly can take out those people that have knowledge, and that's what's being done. They're a very, very difficult state to deal with. I think that they like the fact that they are, in the middle of the discussion of being terroristic in their nature. We certainly need to be vigilant. There are terror cells out there, terrorist cells. There will be proxy groups that strike against the United States and American and Israeli interests, whether it's embassies throughout the world or different things like that. Iran, in their response, was totally measured. They sent 14 missiles to match the 14 that we did to Qatar. They advised us in advance. They advised Qatari in advance. we got our people out of the military area for the base, the largest base in the Middle East, and fortunately all 14 of those missiles were intercepted. So, you know, the question is, should there be regime change? Sure, absolutely. Need to get rid of that whack job Ayatollah. But we're not going to say it publicly, although Trump vacillated a little bit about it last week and talked about regime change. So, I mean, I just want to kind of put a bow around this. It was a very good thing for our country. It was a very good thing for the world that Israel did this and the United States finished it off. And I have nothing but high praise for President Trump on this issue. Very presidential, did the right thing. And if we're going to start fights over whether it was obliterated, destroyed, or whatever, I do think it does matter that we do a battle damage assessment. I do think that the CIA and whoever the intelligence agencies are needs to find out how much damage we did so that we can keep focusing on if they did move the uranium to another area, that we go after it. But to condemn the administration for the choice of words, I don't see that. Now let's talk about the shot heard around the world. In the New York mayor race, Zohran Mendeme won the Democratic primary and won it big by 70,000 votes over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Let me explain something to you. Andrew Cuomo was a flawed candidate. This is a guy that was run out on a rail from the governor's office and had to resign in shame because of the sexual harassment and some of the misrepresentations that he gave, outright lies about COVID and what happened in the nursing home when a lot of the elderly died under his watch. Andrew Cuomo is an old school politician and politicked and ran for office the traditional way, meeting with rich donors and everything like that. And Zohran worked the internet. He tapped into the young people and to their desire to have affordable lifestyles in New York City. It was the perfect storm. He is an absolute flawed candidate. He's 33 years old with zero job experience. He's been a two-term assemblyman. He appears to come from money, or he were married into money. His wife is a Syrian. She's pro-Palestinian. She does pro-Palestinian art. He is refused to condemn the worldwide intifada, and he's made anti-Semitic statements about Jews. And to look at his economic program is absolute Timothy Leary on LSD. Yes, I agree totally that working class people need affordability, but you can't give away free buses. You can't give away free grocery stores. You can't promise to lower rent, and you're going to pay for this by taxing the wealthy. Let me tell you what the wealthy are going to do. Hello, South Carolina. Hello, North Carolina. Hello, Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Florida. They are going to move just like they did during COVID. We are going to go back to the pre-Giuliani times when you couldn't walk in Times Square without possibly being mugged or caught or being approached by prostitutes or people selling drugs. The businesses are going to flee New York. They've already said it. So what is the choice? Not Andrew Cuomo, no. Not him becoming an independent candidate and trying to win. Unfortunately, the choice, again, is the better of the worst of two evils, and that is Mayor Adams. He is going to run as an independent, and if you look at what has happened since his criminal charges have been dismissed without prejudice, meaning that they can be brought again, crime is down in New York, homicides are down, there is less crime on the subways, they're raising more money, he's gotten rid of a lot of the illegal immigrants that were there because it was a sanctuary city. So I think he's going to appeal to African Americans, the middle class, a lot of the Jews, and a lot of the wealthy, and we'll see what the race is going to be like. But I'm telling you, if this Zohran wins, it's the death of the Democratic Party, because they're going to put up somebody like AOC or somebody from the squad in 2028 with the grandfather Bernie Sanders giving the blessing, and we'll have a Republican administration, whether it's MAGA or Republican, for the next 15 years. The country does not want this. And if you look at Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, who's won the governor race for the primary for the Democrats, or the governor's race in Virginia for the Democratic female who's running for governor, these are middle of the road conservative Democrats. That is what the country yearns for. We don't want a far left socialist party. I'm just telling you, I will do everything in my power not to let somebody like this get elected. So that's what I believe. The Supreme Court made two incredible rulings in favor of the Trump administration and for the conservative movement. And this is what has been happening with this Supreme Court. The lower courts, the appellate courts, all rule against him, but he takes it to the Supreme Court, and here's what happened. The Supreme Court said that Trump can remove migrants to South Sudan and other turmoil-filled countries such as El Salvador, even though they don't come from those countries. So if you're here illegally and you think you're going to go back to Mexico, or you're going to go back to, Aruba or wherever you're from, if you're picked up, Trump's going to send you to prisons in places where you didn't grow up or you didn't have your citizenship. And the Supreme Court said that's okay. This is what's happening with when Trump packed that court in his first term. These Supreme Court justices are doing his bidding, and so are the political appointees who he's doing. The other thing we're waiting for is the Supreme Court to say whether one district court judge can make an injunction that would bind the entire nation, or can that judge only make an injunction that would bind the jurisdiction where the judge resides in. That is a big decision. The question is going to be whether Iran ultimately shuts down the Strait of Hormuz if the negotiations over the next couple of weeks fails. 20% of the world's oil comes through there, but I think China's going to just make one phone call to Iran and say, if you close down that Strait of Hormuz, there's going to be big problems, because that's where they get their oil from. Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and these Democrats are raising the age-old issue of when does the president have the right to go alone when he decides to bomb or invade another country, and conversely, when does he have to go to Congress under the War Powers Act to get permission from Congress? Clinton bombed without going to Congress. Obama bombed before without going to Congress. Trump obviously did it this past weekend. This is the age-old question. I think the president has the right to do this without going to Congress. And Thomas Massie, the Republican who said that who didn't vote for the big beautiful bill and seems to cross Trump every step of the way, like Rand Paul. Trump said that he's a disgrace and he's going to run somebody against him, and that Thomas Massie will probably lose. They are taking out general by generals every day in Iran, by Israel. They have no leadership now. And the Ayatollah is finally talking about naming 3 successors and new generals. I got to tell you, if I'm named by the Ayatollah to be his successor, I'm going to say, no, I don't want it, because you're going to be taken out by Israel. I've already talked about Trump taking advice from a multitude of people from militaries, not taking advice from Tulsi Gabbard. He even brought Steve Bannon in, and Bannon was against bombing Iran. It was done anyway. Tulsi Gabbard's on the way out. J.D. Vance, he gave a speech last week, and he called the senator who he served with in Congress, Alex Padilla, he called him Jose Padilla. I think that was done tongue-in-cheek. It was disrespectful. John Jones, who is probably the best MMA fighter of all time, has retired at 28-1. He was a heavyweight. The heat wave that we are facing in this country this week is amazing. We're again in South Carolina at a 100-degree day. It's been this way for like 5 straight days. The Colucci trial ended in a mistrial last week, where the judge, Roger Young, who's a great circuit court judge that we have here, said that there was prosecutorial misconduct in not turning over exculpatory material, where Michael Colucci's wife, Jenny Lynn, I think, or Jenny Lee, told her mother about a week before she allegedly committed suicide that she was going to commit suicide. So that is relevant information that was withheld from the defense since 2015. The prosecutor looked foolish when she tried to justify it, so that's what happened there. Today, the Supreme Court announced, the United States Supreme Court, in a South Carolina case, that as a private citizen, you do not have the right, if your Medicaid benefits are, or your right to Medicaid treatment are denied by, let's say, Planned Parenthood or another type of agency, you don't have a right to sue for civil rights violation under 1983. It's just another decision by the United States Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Trump administration. The Diddy trial came to an end last couple days, very quietly, without any fanfare. The defense didn't put up a case or a witness, which often does that, and so now we're going to be dealing with the instructing of the jury and ultimately the deliberations. Legally, I think there was enough to show a RICO enterprise, that he brought people across state lines to have these freak-off sex parties and do illegal drugs. I think there's a wire act, there's mail fraud. The question is he just a real sexual freak who's disgusting but not a racketeer? We shall see. I think he's going to get convicted, but he's either going to get convicted or hung juries. There's not 12 people that are going to find him innocent. Tesla is doing robo-taxis in Texas, $4 a ride. This is 5 years after Elon Musk said that there would be 1 million of these driverless taxis on the road. That would certainly scare me if I got in a taxi cab and there wasn't a driver. Let's talk about the NBA because it's fascinating. Obviously, OKC won in the 7th game. They won 68 games this year. Clearly a dynasty. SGA is the first one who, since Jordan, who won a scoring title, or Shaq, a scoring title, MVP of the regular season, and then an NBA championship. Clearly a great player. But don't forget Tyrese Halliburton at the end of the first quarter of the championship game last Monday night tore his Achilles tendon. And let's talk about that. From 1980 to 2023, there were 43 Achilles tendons that were torn. Since that time, in 2023, 8 people have, in this season alone, including Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics, tore their Achilles tendons. So what that says is the season that goes essentially from early October all the way through June is way too long. Don't forget that Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum played last year for the United States Olympic team. So they've been essentially playing for 11 straight months. And NBA is going to have to do something about it because the bodies of these players are not holding up. Kevin Durant was traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets. I think that's going to upend the West. I think they have a real shot of finishing number 1 or number 2 in the West. Houston had a great offseason, has some great young players. They got into the playoffs. I think KD is a nomad. He's coming in and he's the best pure shooter of any big man that's ever played the game. Kristaps Porzingis was traded from the Celtics to the Atlanta Hawks. They got rid of a huge salary, even though he's a 19-point-a-game player. He's often injured, and they traded Drew Holiday, who had about 60 or 90 million dollars left. He was the point guard for the Celtics to the Portland Trailblazers. Drew Holiday is just an amazing basketball player, great shooter, great passer. Last night, Cooper Flagg was drafted number one, generational type player. He actually is 18 years old, the second youngest player to be drafted other than LeBron James. This season that he played at Duke was actually his senior season in high school. He got enough credits to graduate early. So he averaged 20 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, and 5 assists, and 3 block shots. He is that 5-tool player who can dribble, can pass, can shoot, play defense, and block shots and rebound. He's just going to be that good, and for him to go to the Dallas Mavericks, even though they only had a 1.8% chance of getting the lottery pick, team him up if there's a healthy Anthony Davis. Kyrie Irving just signed again with Dallas for 3 more years at $119 million. They are going to be a formidable team if Anthony Davis can be healthy. The NBA, though, is really suffering from an identity crisis, and let me try to explain it to you. The NBA went from went from Dr. J to Magic and Larry together, to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to Michael Jordan, to Kobe and Shaq, and then LeBron. That has been the progression of the faces of the NBA. Jerry West obviously was the first. He's the guy, when you see the NBA logo, it's Jerry West, who used to play for the Lakers. There's a lot of good players in the NBA right now. We're talking about, obviously Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. But when you get past them, you have Jokic, you have Luka Doncic, who was a child prodigy that they knew was going to be great. You got Joel Embiid, you got SGA, you got Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum. The problem is, and Anthony Edwards, the problem is none of these guys are iconic. None of these guys can take the mantle from LeBron, or like Michael did, or Kobe took it from Michael. Michael took it for Jabbar and Larry and Magic. And that's a real problem, because the players are so good today, but the NBA is suffering from that lack of iconic players. And so when Steph, LeBron, and KD retire, I think it's going to be a real problem. Last night we had the draft, and we saw how Ace Bailey wouldn't try out for any of the teams, including the Sixers that had the 3rd pick, who would have mostly picked for him, because Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey were picked in the top 5 from Rutgers, of all teams. They didn't do well last year. They were like 15 and 20 and didn't make the NCAAs, but it's a real problem, that I can tell you. Aaron Rodgers says that this is going to be his last year. Let me just tell you, he's not beloved like Peyton Manning. He's not beloved like Drew Brees or Tom Brady, and when Mahomes retires. He's a lot like the Kardashians. People are interested in him, but they really don't like him. He said he's going to go private after he retires. He said, "You're never going to hear from me." Oh, really? This is the same guy that went on Pat McAfee every single week, every Tuesday, to stir up trouble. The same guy that had a Netflix special, and the same guy who wanted to be the head of, wanted to be the host of Jeopardy. So, I find it a little bit difficult to swallow. Amazing baseball that's going on. Ohtani hit his 28th home run. But the real story is Cal Raleigh, who is a catcher for the Seattle Mariners, has hit already 32 home runs, which is unheard of for a catcher. It's the hardest position in baseball. He's already broken the record for the first half of the season for catchers. So let's look on to what we have by way of questions. The Karen Reed verdict of not guilty was not expected by me. I thought there was going to be a hung jury, or I thought she was going to be convicted, but there was a groundswell movement of supporters and just a flawed police investigation. And she was held not guilty. She can't be tried again. Alan Wilson announced that he's going to be running for governor of South Carolina. I certainly think he's a much better choice than the next candidate that we're going to get, which is Nancy Mace from the Republican Party. Alan has done some good things and some other things that I don't agree with. I do agree with how he's prosecuted the Alex Murdaugh case, and so we shall see what is going to happen. People said that I should either run for Attorney General or Governor. I don't think so. Catherine said she'll do a 7-day GoFundMe for campaign contributions. I'm extremely flattered, but I don't think, I certainly think I'm qualified, but based on, what I know and what I talk about and my legal career, but I just think that nobody's going to elect a Jewish guy like me who bucks the system. We talked about the New York mayor promising free groceries, free public transport, and he's anti-police. It's just something that our country cannot stand. We're going to have to get back to talking about the big, beautiful bill now that we're over the Israeli discussions a little bit. That's a major problem with the Medicaid cuts. Mitch McConnell came out yesterday and said people are just going to have to get over it, and they will get over it. No, I don't think so. So we need to be vigilant and fight against that bill and make sure that the Medicaid, Medicare, and the first lunch school programs are protected. I think the Diddy trial is going to be an interesting verdict. My prediction is that they're going to struggle for a long time and there may be a compromise verdict. I don't think he's going to be not guilty. And with that said, EB out, I'm going to go to a judicial convention where I was invited by a federal judge to go to the Fourth Circuit Judicial Conference with Renee this weekend. I'll post some pictures and I'll talk to you next week after my shoulder surgery. Take care, everyone.